Well, hello. Welcome back to the Albanach Knitter. My name is Andrew. I am the Albanach Knitter, and it's good to welcome you to this extra stitch video. If you're relatively new here, you won't necessarily know that I do two different kinds of videos. One is my regular episodes, which has a lot more knitting content, as well as little trips out and about here on the Isle of Arran or other places in Scotland or wherever I happen to be. And the others are these, where I'm just sitting knitting, a general update on life, as well as an update on the knitting and knitting related things, but a little bit more chilled out. And sometimes it's just good to have a little natter, a little chat, or as we say in Scotland, a wee blether with some like-minded friends. And this is a Sunday afternoon, and for me, a very unusual Sunday afternoon, because it's been an unusual Sunday, because I was not working today. So no service, no preaching, no leading worship, no that kind of stuff. As well as that, Tracy, Mrs. Clark, and Lucy, my youngest daughter, is off to Edinburgh to visit Katie at university. Now, I should also say that just over there in the kitchen through the glass window is young Dougal. And if you hear any whining or dog-related shouting or scraping or moving, it's because he can see me. And he'll be fine. He'll be fine. It's kind of getting near to the time where he should be having his dinner. But I think he'll be all right. You can just hear my voice. Anyway, unusual Sunday in that I'm not working. And this morning I was worshipping with another congregation on the other side of the island, actually, who are part of the Free Church of Scotland, who are a Presbyterian group of people. And if you're in the States and you know the PCA, the Presbyterian Church of America, I think that's what they're called. That's what they're most like. Nice people. So I was over there because I had booked this Sunday off, partly because it's in the middle of our school holidays here, but partly because we were also projecting, several months ago, the possibility that this week we might be moving house. Because if you're a follower of this vlog, you will know that we are buying a house and renovating a house and all that sort of thing. So this was one of the potential spots in time where we could potentially have been moving. No. I didn't really think so, but what it has worked out good is that it really is time for us here, as I mentioned in my last main episode, to start sorting the house out here. And so we've been doing that. We are starting to get rid of some of the extra stuff. I said to you, we're downsizing. So we're getting lots of junk out the house and bits of furniture that we don't need and don't want, and all that sort of thing. Trying to tidy up in general. So I've started doing that. Did a lot of that on Friday. Did a little bit on Saturday, which was yesterday, of course. Haven't done anything today because I'm trying to chill out today. And then tomorrow I'll be doing a lot more in the house. Partly because on Tuesday I have a little delegation from the Church of Scotland who own this house that we live in at the moment. Because when we leave here, when our tenancy comes to an end and we move into our own home, they are going to be selling this property. And as I said before, this is going to make a lovely family home for someone. It's been a lovely family home for us for these last 2 years. We've been very grateful to our local friends and the Church of Scotland who have allowed us to be here. And it will make a lovely home. I'd say it needs some work done. It just does. but it will be absolutely lovely, and the views from here are absolutely spectacular. I've shown you before. If you want to have a look, you can go and look in previous videos. But on Tuesday, they're just coming round to just see what will need to be done before they put it on sale. So I'm kind of trying to tidy up so that it looks half decent, you know. When you've got people coming round to, you know, explore bits and bobs, you want to be half tidy, you know. So that's what's happening. So tomorrow, Monday, although I'm kind of back to work, a big part of the work at the moment is actually just going through the process of changing these houses, to be honest. So that's the plan. Anyway, that's my very exciting plans of the last few days. I have been on the knitting front. As you can see, I am still knitting on Mrs. Clark's red cedar sweater by Jessica McDonald. Now, this has been featuring a lot on the podcast because I'm almost 100% still can't say it. I'm still faithfully knitting on this project because I really would like it to be finished as we come into winter. And all I'm doing now is I am knitting on the body of this. Sorry, that's swinging about a little bit. It's sort of tuned to follow my head, so I don't want to make you seasick. So I'll try and stay still. So I've been trying to knit on this body, which is just plain stockinette after the colour work. And I think the phrase is stockinette for days. Stockinette for days and days and days. Because this last week, I have had opportunity to do a fair bit of knitting because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, I had to go over to the mainland. And so that was some ferry time, and I was staying with my mother, and the evenings at my mother's is always knitting time. So I managed to get a bit of knitting done there, and then of course coming back on the ferry, managed to get a little bit of knitting done. So that was good. So I've made some good progress on this. But it is very much one of those projects, which is what I was hoping for it to get to. It's one of those projects which is just now stockinette for the body, and it's fairly mindless, which means it's fairly easy to bring out in public spaces, public transport, knitting group, all that sort of thing, because it is just stockinette. But I was just thinking, before I came on to speak to you, I was listening to Martin. Martin's a Welsh chap who blogs over at Knit365. You've probably come across Martin, but if you haven't, you should go and give him a little look. He's doing Vlogtober this month. And he was talking about his attempts at the Stephen West Cal knit-along, shawl knit-along thingy, which I could never do because I don't have that much time. So he was talking about his project, and he was saying he talks about, in terms of planning his knitting, he was talking about, reckoning that this particular bit was going to take 5 hours, which is, if you've got that kind of brain and that's how you organise your knitting, well, fair enough. But then as I was sitting listening to him, I was just trying to think of how many hours I have spent on knitting this sweater, and it's like, it's so beyond. Now, as you can see, as I knit along here, I'm not a particularly fast knitter, I've said that before, and I do that old-fashioned sort of Scottish stroke English throwing thing, like, all this sort of business, and it doesn't bother me at all. The pace of my knitting doesn't bother me at all. In fact, if I was doing something different, I would probably be quite stressed about it. So I'm quite happy doing this. But when you're on a project like this, it just takes a long time, because this little, I'm just going to move you back over because it's, oh, there we are. When you're doing a project like this, it's a long time. And this is 2-ply yarn, as I've probably mentioned before. Because the colourwork stuff is Jameson and Smith 2-ply, and so this lovely grey is not Jameson and Smith, but a bit cheaper. and in greater bulk because it's mainly a grey sweater with colour work at the top. I'm just realising how long this is taking, and I don't mind that at all because the recipient is clearly a very worthy recipient of a knitted jumper from her husband. And in the midst of all the other things that are happening in life, it's actually quite nice just to have something to work away on and not to be sort of frantically jumping between projects at the moment. But to say, over at the mainland, managed to get some knitting done with my mother and various other places. It was a bit of it wasn't a work trip at all. I was over just doing some of the practical things that you have to do. When you live in an island like this, there are some things you have to go to the mainland for. So there was two things really. The first thing was I had to go to hospital for an appointment for my eyes, and in particular, Mr. Left Eye here, because Mr. Left Eye here has got a few things going on. First of all, the prescription on my left eye has had quite a dramatic decline over the last 6 months, and so was at the hospital getting all that checked out, plus the fact that I have diabetic retinopathy. So my eyesight is being affected by that horrible disease. So they keep an eye on that, and there's a wee bit of a happening on the left eye. Isn't that exciting? But when I was at the ophthalmic doctor, I can't remember, not a paediatrician. I mean, I am not a child. The physician, that's the word I was looking for. The ophthalmic physician, doctor. She was saying, with a little test that she did, she says, although the challenge with my eye is causing some of the challenges that I have with my eyes in general, she thinks that the prescription in my left eye had changed. So I managed, being in the hospital late on in one afternoon, managed to go on, book an appointment, and get into the opticians on the next morning, where I discovered that my left eye had gone from something like minus 4.75 to minus 5.5, which is quite a considerable change, and certainly makes sense of things like that. I notice my eyesight changing in two particular places. One, when I'm driving, because you start to see road signs and things a little bit differently, and oncoming registration plates for cars not quite so clear. So I noticed that, and also when I'm watching the telly, and particularly these are progressive lenses. So when I'm knitting, I'm looking down the bottom part of my lenses so I can see what's going on here. And if I'm watching television, I'm looking up. But it was when I was looking up, I was noticing that, I was having to, readjust my eyes quite significantly, whereas it should be just a case of, moving your eyes up and down. So that was a telltale sign. So as I wasn't sure if it was purely the retinopathy, or whether it was a change in prescription. So it turns out it was a change in prescription. So managed to get new glasses ordered and got measured for them before they were sent away to be made, because I don't particularly want to go straight back over to the mainland to pick them up from an optician over in the mainland. Now we do have an optician here on the Isle of Arran, but it's an independent company, so it's a little bit more expensive, and I'm not flush with cash. So I go to a sort of brand opticians over in the mainland in Irvine, which is fine, and we get 10% off over there because we come from the island. So that's not bad. Anyway, these glasses will arrive some point next week, where hopefully I'll be sorted out for a little while. It's not guaranteed that my prescription will stay at that. My eyesight may all of a sudden improve, such is the nature of the beast. So I don't know. It's just a weird old season, and hoping that as other things settle medically so things will settle with the eyes. Because you kind of need your eyes, don't you? You know, they're quite handy. And certainly for the knitting, you definitely need your eyes for the knitting. I don't quite know what I would do if I wasn't able to knit. I'd have to do some other weird stuff. Not that knitting's weird, or you know what I mean. So that was one of the reasons I was over there. But while I was over there, with the impending move, I was able to do a little bit of shopping. So I managed to go to that lovely Scandinavian store called IKEA, because, as I said, we're downsizing, and we need to have a little bit more of a flexible solution, so that we can store my books, or our books, over a number of rooms as opposed to all in the one big room, because there's no one dedicated room. So I was buying bookshelves and all that sort of thing, a few little incidentals. Went to the hardware store, you might call it, B&Q, and got a few bits and pieces that I need just to do some of the renovation works and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that was the plan, and managed to visit a bookshop and bought more books, to replace the ones that I'm getting rid of because we're downsizing, you know, this sort of thing. So that was good. I had a good little time over there. I was on my own. I was just flopping about on my own, up and down between the mainland of Ayrshire and up into Glasgow where IKEA is and all that sort of thing. So that was good. I enjoyed that wee trip over. Enjoyed seeing the family. It's never just a case of seeing my mother when I go and stay there, because my sister lives with my mother. And my aunt, who lives down south in England, very frequently comes back to her home village to see her grandchildren and children and things. And so she was staying there. And also staying at my mother's was one of her grandchildren. So that's not bad. A sister, a mother, an aunt, and a first cousin once removed, all squeezed into the house. So that was fun. In terms of other aspects of life which are shifting on, the house is really moving on now. We definitely got to the stage where I had done what I could do. I mean, my skills in terms of doing stuff around the house are on the sort of level of, you know, manual labour. I have no real skill, although, you know, I can learn to do things, and I've got a reasonable eye for accuracy on some tasks and, you know, all that sort of stuff, but complete amateur. So having done all the dirty, dusty work of, you know, scraping walls and all that sort of thing, very quickly got to the stage where I recognised that I had done at that stage all I could possibly do, which happened to coincide with the dates and times where the builders firm that we're using were getting ready to come and start doing some of the major stuff. So they've had all the doors and the skirting boards. I presume you call them skirting boards in other countries. You know, that little bit of wood that goes along the bottom of the... Is that what you call it? Skirting board? That's what we call them. I don't know what else you would call them, to be honest. So all those were off. All the doors were off. So all the doors are now back on, and the new skirting boards are back on. And when I went in earlier, they had taken out the old fireplace, which was a little bit wobbly. So we decided to replace that. And in its place, they took out an old back boiler thing as well, which is an old system for heating some water. They have taken that out, and the plan is to put a wood burner in there. Can't remember if I said that. So it was good to see the progress with that. So yeah, it's coming on. It's hard at the moment to know what the timescales are in terms of moving in, but we're hoping that we'll be in by Christmas. Now I didn't say which Christmas, but to be in by Christmas would be a nice thing. No, I'm sure it won't be long, but at some point we'll have to take a call as to whether we think we can get organised and get shifted in decent time before that thing called winter comes in. Not that we have terribly cold winters, but we frequently have very wet and windy winters here. We are an island community. We have a maritime climate. We get a lot of rain, wind. But we do have the influence of the Gulf Stream that goes up the west coast of Scotland. So it just means that we're generally mild and temperate. So not so much snow and cold and all that sort of business, but rain and wind. And having said that, we don't get the extremes of weather that some places have, and very much thinking about all you folks out there, especially those of you who are in the Florida area and other places in the States, and who have had devastating causes from the storms, the hurricanes of late. So thinking of you. We don't really get those kind of extremities very much here in the UK. It just always rains. But we can't complain. Can't really complain. So the whole idea of trying to get everything out and moved in cold and rain isn't jolly. And we'll be doing the removal mainly ourselves, because we've got some good friends here with decent vehicles who will probably come and help us. And there's a little van hire company down in Whiting Bay, which is the next village south of here in Albanach. So for a very reasonable price, we'll be able to hire a van for some of the larger things. We don't have a lot of larger things, to be honest. We have a couple of sofas and a large coffee table in the dining room there, plus things like TVs and all that sort of thing. Beds, well, they all dismantle. And we've got a few smaller pieces of furniture here, there, and everywhere. But as I say, we've also got some new furniture which is still in the flat pack boxes, which I will not be building here, but we'll be building in situ when we get to the new house. So a lot of the stuff that we'll be moving is just personal effects, which isn't very difficult to do at all. We've had that kind of move at all. The things that I am concerned about moving, again, just reflecting on the whole process of getting the things in here in the first place, are things like the upright piano. I can't even move that thing. If you drop something down the back of it, I can't even move it out to get that thing that's been dropped down the back. It doesn't have any wheels, so we're going to need some sort of solution to get that lovely piano shifted. And the fridge freezer, that's do you have those combinations of things? It's like a freezer on the bottom compartments and then a fridge on the top. It's not very big, but when you're trying to lift it yourself or with one other person, quite heavy. I almost killed myself trying to get that thing in this house, and it was only up 5 stairs. So we'll need to help to get that sort of thing moved, but I'm sure there'll be a few, burly blokes, and some pretty hefty women as well, I have to say, who will come and help us to get stuff moved. But a lot of this stuff, I'd say, is personal effects, which will be moved in small boxes back and forward over several days. So no rush, but it's just getting those big things. So, but as I say, that's the plan for the removal whenever it'll happen. So as soon as the house is at the stage where you can get stuff in it reasonably, move you back over, there we are, so we can get stuff in it reasonably, we'll start making that process happen. There's a few sort of things to be done to the house that are more external, like some stuff in the roof space and all that sort of thing. So I don't think we need to be worried about being in there when that's all taken place. So yeah, we can get on hopefully with moving and get settled. That's what you want, isn't it? It's that sort of like, we've had lots of times in life where we've been in transition because we've lived in a few places, and even when we've spent a decent time in the one particular place, one particular church, we've had 1, 2, 3 occasions where in the amount of time that we've been there, usually sort of an average of 5 years. We've actually moved house halfway between because, well, for lots of different reasons. We've had to move to a new house or take up a new, just all that sort of thing. So we are rather, we're used to moving, but actually rather tired of moving. And the prospect of this house being eventually our own is a really wonderful thing. So it feels really different this time. It feels like when we can get into this house, we can really start that process of putting down roots. But as it is, you start to get into that sort of zone whereby you start to feel a little bit unsettled as the house starts to look a little bit, empty and, just slightly messy and all that sort of thing. So those sorts of transitions are never easy, but thankfully we're not having to make those transitions this time round where everyone is changing jobs and changing countries and moving hundreds of miles and having the stress of getting to know new people and new situations. So it's not full on stress, but when full on stress or even part stress is there, there's always the knitting, isn't there? And that is the good thing. So I'm knitting on the red cedar sweater. I don't know what I did there. There's something. So hang on, I can't pick a minute. I think there was something strange happened to that because as I was talking to you, something flashed on my camera. I then put the needle in the wrong place, did that thing, did the other thing, and then noticed it was wrong. So that's fixed now. Panic over, as you were. What was I saying? Yeah, I think I was talking about just this sweater. This is the main project at the moment, as I say, and it is quite good to be able to come back to the project on situations like this where the house is quiet, the dog is now lying down, he's asleep, which is surprising. Well, it's not surprising because we were out for a longish walk this afternoon. That's his habit on a Sunday especially. He has a longer Sunday afternoon walk, so we're not too long back from that. And he's now lying down over there. He will be wanting fed, as will I, at some point. But we're fending for ourselves today because, as I say, all the Clark ladies are off to Edinburgh for a few days. So it's just me, myself and I. And I will enjoy that because, as I may have mentioned before, I'm quite an introvert and I quite enjoy time on my own to replenish and refocus and rethink. And there is lots of that needing to happen because life at the moment with various commitments and happenings has been pretty hectic, as well as the house situation and all that sort of thing. So this man here realizes that he needs to slow down. And one of the ways he definitely knows he needs to slow down is because when there's no time for knitting, you know that there's too much happening elsewhere. So sitting here like this is quite lovely. Now, when I was away, I did... Oh, sorry to wobble you there. When I was away, I got a few more big plastic storage boxes because I'm starting to realise that my knitting accoutrement is expanding a little bit. And rather than have it sort of placed around the house so it doesn't look too bad, when it all comes together in one place, you'll want to have somewhere safe to put it. So I've got some new plastic storage boxes, which is very exciting, which, of course, when we move, will give plenty of scope to add to the haul, to the stash, and all that sort of jazz. And so I was quite glad to get those and be able to get all that sorted out. So that's the job for tomorrow. Today is relaxing, and I have a few podcasts that I catch up with, particularly on a Sunday on YouTube. mainly because Sunday afternoon stroke evening is mainly a quieter time, just because I'm recovering from whatever exertion I've had to put out in the morning. I watch quite a few Scottish based podcasters. One is called Living the Sky Life. Now, absolutely nothing to do with knitting at all. This is just a couple. The guy's from Fife on the east coast of Scotland, and the lass is from Newcastle upon Tyne, and actually the same suburb that our family lived in for 5 years. And when I started watching Living the Sky Life, I recognised this girl. I recognised her, and couldn't figure out where. And then figured, well, she's a Geordie. She's from Newcastle, and but then one of the episodes she revealed that she lived in Gosforth, which was the suburb that we were in, and that she was a barmaid at the Job Bullman pub, public house, which is in St Nicholas Avenue, which is the road that we lived on, and we used to frequent this pub for family meals because they were doing some decent food. So that's I started watching that because they moved to Skye, the Isle of Skye, and Teelan Skeenoch, the same time as we moved here to the Isle of Arran. So that's been interesting to see how their life has developed, and to just follow along. And to be honest with you, it's good family watching. So when the family are sitting down around or after dinner, we normally watch them. They've got two very sweet Springer Spaniels, and the girls quite enjoy their antics. And the lady, whose name I forget at the moment, Sarah, she is an artist, does some lovely artwork, and Willie is a musician. So they pretty much work for themselves there in their cottage on Skye. A beautiful, beautiful location. Skye is, it is an island off the coast of Scotland, but it's attached to the mainland by a bridge. So they don't have to worry about things like ferries and stuff. So I do enjoy watching them. They're lovely people, creatives, and they make a very nice blog. The other person I watch, now I think her blog is actually called Hippie Highland Living. Which, by the sounds of it, is not necessarily the kind of thing that automatically attracts me to a vlog. But this particular lass, called Molly, she was brought up on the Isle of Arran, although she now lives near Inverness, and her show is basically a kind of lifestyle show, and I quite enjoy watching. Again, I think it's just the way she presents things, the scenery that she shows, and just her general aesthetic in life. I find it quite relaxing to watch, and I say her parents can be spotted out in the wild here on the Isle of Arran. So there feels like that little bit of a connection between watching Molly at Hippie Highland Living and the island here. So I watched that one, and at some point I then just catch up with whatever knitting vlogs are there. I didn't do this today, but I caught up with Inga again at Knitting Traditions. I've caught up with Martin at Knit365 on his Vlogtober. I usually watch Arna and Carlos if I can be bothered. I don't mean to be unkind, but you probably know what I mean. So I catch up with them because they normally bring out a video on a Sunday. That's why I watch them on a Sunday. But I think they're bringing it out a little bit later today. Anyway, I digress. And then there's another couple, partners, and they live in the Republic of Ireland. I started watching them when they were doing van life, and I think their channel is called Camper Vibe. I think if not, I'll put it here. But they've recently they still do van stuff. They still go and spend a lot of the time roving around in their van. But they also have recently bought a lovely little cottage in Ireland, which they're currently renovating. So I enjoy watching that on a Sunday evening because they bring out a vlog every Sunday. And then the other one that I watch, and I think he brings out a video on a Sunday, is some of you may remember the knitting podcaster Jude Harper, who used to have his own yarn dyeing company. Yes, that was right. But gave that up, and after sad loss of both parents, reevaluated life and has taken a different direction. And so he's currently doing videos because he has bought a cottage up in, I think it's Aberdeenshire, up in the northeast of Scotland, and he's currently doing various renovation projects, and he may have a similar skill level in terms of DIY that I have, so maybe that's why it's amusing to watch, because I think, yeah, we're pretty much in the same place with that whole stuff. But that looks like a very exciting renovation project, and when you kind of get used to watching people doing their thing, you kind of want to, keep up with them, even although their focus of their work and their blog or their vlog has changed a little bit. So I catch up with Jude Harper, and I can't remember what the name of his new channel is. It's something to do with Scottish cottage. I'll put it down here because I can't remember. So that's the plan. So very shortly, I'm going to leave you, because this is pretty much just me, as I say, sitting here knitting and having a general chat, giving you a general catch up, and on the suspicion that, from the comments, I know that, a few of you quite enjoy just a little bit of a sit and knit with somebody, whittering on in the background. So it's been really nice to knit with you this afternoon, this evening. Very shortly, I'm going to go and put my dinner on. Now, we had Chinese takeaway last night, and there is some of that left. So I'm going to go and reheat the chicken curry. And I cheated because I'm a typical bloke. I bought some microwavable rice in a bag. So I'm going to go and microwave my rice and add said chicken curry to the same. And enjoy that. I shall give Dougal his kibble, and he'll be as nonchalant about that as you could possibly imagine. But I have to say, I do understand the plight of Dougal the dog, because I don't think I would appreciate necessarily being handed the same bowl of kibble twice a day. So, poor dog, but he does get treats and other things as well, but his main staple diet is his kibble. So I'll spend a little bit of time trying to persuade him that this is good for him and that he should eat it and not everything else. You really start to realise with a Labrador just how many things in the world are edible. Did you know that? There are so many things that are edible in the world, and Dougal likes to have a good try at most things, and he's always very interesting to take out on a walk. He's still very young, very energetic, and he is so strong. He's still a young dog. He's just pure muscle. He's just pure muscle, to the extent that he's good on the whole. But if he decides that he's going to go and see that thing over there, and you've got him on the lead, then you're going to need a lot of strength to try and contain him. So yeah, but he's fine and healthy, which is good, and he'll have his kibble because it's designed to keep him nice and healthy. Labradors are working dogs, and he's from a working dog background. His breeders who are sort of family connected to us. They breed working dogs for use here in Scotland in farms and all that sort of thing. So that's about it, friends. It's been good to chat to you, and I've enjoyed your company while I've been sitting here just doing these few stitches. And before you go though, I will show you the progress I've got to. Trying not to lose my knitting off the needles. So there we are. That's the back. I've gone a little bit further than where it was. I'll try and hide my face so that it will show you. So we're there. I mean, I haven't measured it. It could do with measuring. I would reckon there's probably, looking at it on me, Mrs. Clark's not as tall as me on the top half. But I would still say there's a good couple of inches to go before we make a start on the rib at the bottom. And I will be pleased to have that bit done. If I can get that bit done in a reasonable amount of time, I'll be quite pleased with that. And then it's just a case of, oh, sorry, you've gone up there. Sorry, I'm here. There we are. When I can get that done, I'll be quite pleased with that. And then it's just a case of the sleeves. I'll have to figure out what the plan is with the sleeves, because I haven't read that far. I know you're supposed to sort of read in advance and work out all the pattern beforehand. Haven't done that. No particular reason. Just haven't. But I will enjoy doing that when it comes to it. But for now, that's it, folks. It's been lovely to chat to you. I hope you've appreciated the wee catch up, and you've had a bit of company while you're sitting there doing your knitting or whatever it is you're doing. But I'll be back very soon with a main episode, and hopefully that will be either towards the end of October, beginning of November, all being well. Just to remind you that in the last main episode there was details of sending in any beanies that you want to send, especially if you're in the UK here. Don't send them if you're from other places, just send your beanies elsewhere if you've been taking part. But if you want to send your beanies to me, the address to send them to is in my last main episode, which I think was episode 14. So thanks very much to all of you who have sent them in already. I'll show you a little pile of them next time in the main episode. And I'll be back with you very shortly. But for now, Martian Leven Drasta, Agus Bianach Jagud. Bye for now, and God bless you. Take care.